All right, today we are diving deep into the mind of one of Silicon Valley's most fascinating and, let's be honest, most controversial figures, Peter Thiel.
And let's just jump right in with a quote that'll kind of make your head spin. In a private lecture, Thiel basically says that the modern Antichrist isn't some demonic figure, but someone like Greta Thunberg, a Luddite who wants to stop scientific progress. Right off the bat, you can see, for Thiel, technology isn't just about apps and code. No, it's this epic, almost religious struggle for the future.
And this is where things get really interesting. This is the central paradox we're going to unpack today. On one hand, he's out there warning everyone about this, this global surveillance state, calling it the ultimate evil, the work of the Antichrist. But on the other hand, his company, Palantir, is literally building the tech that could make that nightmare a reality.
So what gives? How can the same guy warn about a Big Brother-style Antichrist while also building the tools for it? What is his endgame here? That's what we're going to try and figure out.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the company at the heart of all this, Palantir.
Now, Palantir isn't your average tech startup, not even close. This is a seriously powerful surveillance machine, designed from day one to connect the dots in these huge, messy pools of data. It got its start with seed money from the CIA, of all places. And today, its clients are a who's who of government agencies, the NSA, immigration enforcement, police departments, you name it. It pulls in everything, your emails, financial records, what you post on social media, to build profiles and even generate risk scores on people. Yeah. In short, it's a machine built to find secrets.
Okay, so to really get this paradox, you have to understand how Thiel sees the world, what he thinks is fundamentally broken about it. And a huge part of his diagnosis comes from a French theorist named René Girard, who was actually one of his professors back at Stanford.
The big idea here, the one Thiel really latched onto, is something called mimetic desire. Sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Girard argued that we humans, well, we're not very original. We don't really know what we want on our own. So what do? We copy what other people want. And for Thiel, this isn't just some quirky psychological tick, it's the secret engine driving basically all human conflict.
And this copying thing, it creates this vicious three-step cycle that Thiel sees playing out over and over again throughout history. Step 1, imitation. We see something someone else wants, and suddenly we want it too. Step 2, rivalry. Naturally, this leads to competition, right? We're all fighting for the same stuff. And eventually that rivalry gets so intense it threatens to just tear society apart. Which brings us to step 3, scapegoating. To calm everything down, society finds a way to unite by pouring all of its collective anger and violence onto one single target, the scapegoat. So in Thiel's mind, our entire modern world is just sick with this hidden conflict, this mimetic violence. He sees it as the root of our stagnation, our decay, and he thinks modern liberalism is just hopelessly naive about it all. It pretends we can just talk our way out of this stuff with reason and progress, completely ignoring the violent beast lurking underneath.
All right, so if the world is broken, how does Thiel think we should analyze it? What's in his intellectual toolkit? Well, he pulls from some pretty specific and, often controversial thinkers.
What's wild is that these guys give him a framework that basically throws modern values like progress and equality right out the window. So you've got Carl Schmitt, who says politics is always about friend versus enemy. Then there's Oswald Spengler, with his super cheerful idea that civilizations are like organisms. They're born, they grow, and then they inevitably die. And then you have Leo Strauss, who believed that the real truths, the most important ones, are always hidden from the masses. They're only for an elite few who know how to read between the lines. And that idea of secrets, especially from Strauss, is absolutely central to how Peter Thiel thinks and acts. He's always on the hunt for these hidden truths that nobody else sees. It's the same mindset he uses to find the next billion-dollar startup and to shape his political philosophy.
So, the world is sick. The real truth is hidden. Who can possibly save us? Well, if you're Peter Thiel, the answer is definitely not a vote or a committee.
Nope. He puts his faith in what he calls sovereign individuals, or founders. These are the heroic figures, the exceptional people who can actually break free from that whole cycle of imitation and create something totally new. They're not just following the crowd, they're building a different reality.
And you can really see this belief in his obsession with J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. I mean, he doesn't just see it as a fantasy story. For him, it's a foundational myth about the return of the king, a single heroic leader who restores order to a world that's just drowning in chaos. It frames history as this epic battle between good and evil, where you absolutely need strong leaders to win.
This brings us to a really fascinating and kind of obscure concept that's key to Thiel's thinking, the katachon. It's an old theological idea, basically referring to a force, a person, an institution, whatever, that holds back chaos and delays the end of the world, the arrival of the Antichrist. And Thiel thinks we desperately need a modern katachon to stop that totalitarian future he's so afraid of.
And boom, that brings us right back to where we started, back to that central paradox. Is Peter Thiel trying to be this katechon, this restraining force, or is he building something else entirely?
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The name of his company, Palantir, comes with this massive warning label built right into Tolkien's mythology. The Palantiri were these magical seeing stones that showed you hidden truths, but, and this is a huge but, they were secretly controlled by the Dark Lord Sauron, who used them to twist reality and manipulate people.
The parallel is just perfect, isn't it? On one hand, you have a tool that offers you unbelievable knowledge, the power to see hidden things, but on the other, it comes with this immense risk of corruption, of being used for control and deception. It's the ultimate double-edged sword.
So we're left with this fundamental tension, this huge question mark at the very center of his worldview. He sees himself as a hero, using technology to fight against decline and chaos. But at the same time, his biggest creation, Palantir, looks an awful lot like the all-seeing, oppressive system he says he's fighting against.
In the end, it leaves you wondering. There's this quote from the philosopher Theodor Adorno that feels strangely appropriate. If the lion had a consciousness, his rage at the antelope he wants to eat would be his ideology. So is Thiel's incredibly complex philosophy a genuine roadmap to save the world? Or is it the ultimate ideology, a brilliant justification for accumulating immense power? That answer? Well, it might just be one of Silicon Valley's best-kept secrets.